Hendon, North London, 6 p.m. Back in Britain, Juan Pujol, the double agent codenamed Garbo, is the front man for this ingenious strategy. Garbo is in the pay of the British, but the Germans think he is on their side. He is part of an elaborate deception plan to confuse the enemy using dummy ships and vehicles to mislead their aerial reconnaissance. Garbo's job is to send messages convincing the Germans that the invasion force will land near Calais, not in Normandy. Today, he spins an even more far-fetched yarn, that the Allies might not land in France at all, but in Norway. Whitehall, London, 7 p.m. That evening, Winston Churchill is in his underground bunker from where he has watched the progress of so many battles. It is now he receives the latest news from the Allied campaign in Italy. He is told that the Allied forces have entered the Piazza Venezia in the center of Rome. The Italian capital has officially fallen. When the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt is informed, he tells reporters, "The first of the Axis capitals is now in our hands. 1 up and 2 to go." Now, everything depends on D-Day. Only its success will secure Paris and Berlin for the Allies and absolute victory in the European war. Chateau de Bordeaux, 7:30 p.m. In France, British secret agent Sidney Hudson perfects his false identity. If he is stopped by the Gestapo, his papers, those of a traveling cosmetics salesman, will hopefully save him.
My first name was Jacques Laroche. Laroche is apparently a French name, but from the east of France, so that I knew if I didn't quite fit in, that I could say I was from the east, which I did on occasion.
Sidney's job is to run a network of French patriots. Night after night, they cut telephone wires and blow up railway lines. Anything to undermine the Germans' ability to function. Caen, Normandy, 8 p.m. 100 miles to the north, Andre Heinz is with his friends, but he has other things on his mind. When will the Allies arrive?
Waited anxiously for the next messages. It seemed a very long time, and I don't know why we had thought that the landings might take place on a Sunday, so I had refused to go to a dance to which I had been invited by some of my friends. But on Sunday, when nothing happened, I was so depressed that I decided to go to the party all the same. I felt like a little god, because I was the only one who knew the future. I would have liked so much to tell all those friends I liked so much to hide or to leave Caen, to be on the safe side, because in a city you were more in danger than in the countryside. But I couldn't even tell them that. And I was just thinking, well, how many will be still alive after it is all over?
The fate of the people of France is with General Eisenhower. 2 hours later in England, he has brought the incredible news of a break in the bad weather.
The terrible storm in the Channel will lift. The depression will move off to the east, and the weather in a day and a half should be clear for the landings.
It's nothing short of a miracle.
Well done.
Mercifully, almost miraculously, the almost unbelievable happened about midday. A lull between two depressions that would offer a 36-hour window of opportunity. By the morning of Tuesday, the 6th of June, the winds will slacken, the sea get calmer, and the cloud cover might lift.
At midnight, as a storm rages outside, James Stagg notes in his diary the paradox of the weather.
When the weather was good early this morning, D-Day was postponed. Now it is bad. It has the go-ahead. It all looks a little mad.
But mad though it may be, there is no turning back now. Monday, June 5th, 1944, one day to D-Day. Supreme Allied HQ, 4:15 a.m. First thing in the morning, the commanders attend their final weather briefing.
I believe the forecast given last night to be accurate.
It is now that Eisenhower utters the historic words.
Okay. We'll go.
2 hours later, officers in the Army, Navy, and Air Forces open their sealed orders. These are the final instructions for the next day. Glenn Dickin, waiting on board ship, is told he will land on Juno Beach in front of the small port of Courseulles-sur-Mer. His commanders know his job will be difficult and dangerous. This is a known stronghold of the German infantry. Hampshire, England, 7 a.m. The news comes through to Cliff Morris after morning roll call.
5th of June. Then came the orders to move. And after forming up, we are again inspected to make sure that everything is in order and nothing missing. We are then handed pamphlets to read, which are in effect a message from General Eisenhower. And these pamphlets, although given out in moments of great excitement, are kept and treasured by many of the lads.
Soldiers, sailors, and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force, you are about to embark on the Great Crusade. The eyes of the world are upon you. You will bring about the destruction of the German war machine, the elimination of the Nazi tyranny over the oppressed peoples of Europe, and security for ourselves in a free world. We will accept nothing less than full victory.
Nantes, France, 2 p.m. In the relaxed confines of his army repair shop, Walter Schwender still has no inkling that the subjugation of France is about to come to an end.
Ihr Lieben,
Dear
vielen Dank
all,
für die 40 Mark
thanks very much for the 40 marks travel expenses I received today. This time it took rather a long time for it to get here. This is of course the situation with the postal service, nor is it any wonder. Otherwise, everything is still absolutely fine for me, and I hope the same goes for you. Lots of love to all, Walter.
Liebe Grüße an alle, Walter.
By the end of the afternoon, the biggest armada the world has ever seen is leaving England's south coast. Among more than 150,000 troops on board is Commando Cliff Morris.
Time is now 1800 hours, and the crew starts to lift anchor, and we proceed to move. Everyone is now on deck, laughing and shouting, with the radio playing away with swing music. What a feeling. I do not think that at this moment anyone has a care in the world.
Caen, Normandy, 7 p.m. That evening, Andre Heinz tunes in, as usual, to the BBC.
On Monday the 5th, at last I heard Les dés sont sur le tapis in French, which means the dice are on the table, which was the order for the Green Plan. It was mostly the job of the railway people that had to blow up trains or blow up rails or unscrew rails to stop transportation along the railway lines. So the next message was for the Purple Plan. It was "Ne faites pas de plaisanterie," don't make any jokes, which was the order for cutting telephone lines, and I must say that those that did the best job, well, the people working at the post office in the section, telephone section, that knew which lines were used by the Germans and who modeled as many lines as they could.
Chateau de Bordeaux, France, 8 p.m. Further south, Sidney Hudson and Sonia D'Artois also hear the message for the Purple Plan. It is their job to pass on to the French resistance the order to cut German telephone wires.
We had different groups, and I would be the one to relay the instructions to one group to another and transport some of the weapons, and with the help of the French people. Well, we just did what we had to do. We'd bicycle around and do the jobs we had to do, and there was no question of hiding, except being careful, very aware of security.
Whitehall, London, 9:30 p.m. In London, after dinner, Churchill tells his wife,
"Do you realize that by the time you wake in the morning, 20,000 men may have been killed?"
Eisenhower, meanwhile, has left his headquarters. He has driven through the summer twilight to watch the first of the paratroopers depart. Afterwards, there are tears in his eyes. Cottesmore Airfield, England, 10 p.m. The great plan to liberate France has now swung into action. 13,000 British and American paratroopers are the first to go. They will be dropped behind enemy lines ahead of the seaborne troops. Among them is Bill Tucker.
As it gets late in the day, there's a sense of tremendous anticipation, a quiet feeling in the air. I'm thinking, as is everyone else, whether I'll make it, or how many of us will make it. But there doesn't seem to be any apprehension, much more of a feeling that everyone shares of being part of a monumental historical undertaking.
I had a real sense that I was involved in a big plan of history. I don't mean to be dramatic about that, but I had the makeup that was able to sense, hey, this is big.
Plan to confuse the enemy using dummy ships and vehicles to mislead their aerial reconnaissance. Garbeau's job is to send messages convincing the Germans that the invasion force will land near Calais, not in Normandy. Today, he spins an even more far-fetched yarn, that the app and 2 to go. Now, everything depends on D-Day. Only its success will secure Paris and Berlin for the Allies and absolute victory in the European war. Chateau de Bordeaux, 7:30 p.m. In France, British secret agents Hendon, North London, 6 p.m. Back in Britain, Juan Pujol, the double agent codenamed Garbeau, is the front man for this ingenious strategy. Garbeau is in the pay of the British, but the Germans think he is on their side. He is part of an elaborate deception. Allies might not land in France at all, but in Norway. Whitehall, London, 7 p.m. That evening, Winston Churchill is in his underground bunker from where he has watched the progress of so many battles. It is now he receives the latest news from the Allied campaign in Italy. He is told that the Allied forces have entered the Piazza Venezia in the center of Rome. The Italian capital has officially fallen. When the American President Franklin D. Roosevelt is informed, he tells reporters, "The first of the Axis capitals is now in our hands. One